Orange County Fire Authority Fire Chief Brian Fennessy has dedicated the last 44 years of his life to fire safety and has worked tirelessly to introduce innovative approaches to wildfire management. In this episode of Solutions That Save, he tells us about the Quick Reaction Force, how this initiative has helped California to more effectively manage wildfires, and the importance of incorporating more nighttime aerial efforts to suppress wildfires. That's on today's episode of Solutions That Save, a fire safety podcast from Perimeter Solutions.
Hello, I'm your host, Dan Green. Welcome to Solutions That Save, a fire safety podcast from Perimeter Solutions, helping save property, natural resources, critical infrastructure, and lives. In today's episode, Wes Bolsen, Business Director of Wildfire Prevention and Protection at Perimeter Solutions, returns to the interviewer's chair to speak with Chief Brian Fennessy. Chief Fennessy and the Orange County Fire Authority are credited with having one of the most advanced wildfire management programs in the country. Let's listen in as Chief Fennessy talks with Wes about their efforts and gives his thoughts on the keys to effective wildfire prevention and protection.
Thank you for joining us today, Chief Fennessy. You've been a leader in the fire community for many years now. Could you take just a moment to tell our listeners about your path to becoming the chief of the Orange County Fire Authority?
Yeah, it's great to be here, Wes. Thank you for the invitation. In brief, I got my fire service started back in 1978 with the U.S. Forest Service right out of high school. Was assigned to a hotshot crew off the Angeles National Forest. Spent 13 years between the Forest Service and BLM, all hot shots or hella shots. I was hired by the city of San Diego in 1990 as a firefighter. Worked my way over 30 years through the ranks and ended with the fire chief there for 3 years before starting here at Orange County. And I'm into my 5th year here at Orange County, so about 44 years.
Wow. Thank you for all that you've done in this fire community. I would say you've also shown an unprecedented ability over your 44 years to collaborate with others, something I think you can be very proud of, and especially maybe over the last 4 years, what we now call the Quick Reaction Force or an aerial task force, and how really bringing many parties together to make that succeed. So could you talk to us a little bit about the QRF and its formation?
You bet. And you said it, Wes. I mean, we're all in this together now. Fire is not just the fire agency issue. It's everybody's issue. It's the utilities, it's the communities, it's the public, it's private. And so partnerships are key to success in this new environment that we're working within. And I think throughout the West, it's been demonstrated that delivering large volumes of water, retardant, gels, foams, whatever it is key, especially during initial attack, to keep these fires small. And recent years have demonstrated that once these fires escape, what we're able to throw at them initially, they become so large that it's only Mother Nature that's going to stop those spreads. So we're certainly in a changed world.
I think maybe you could comment on, I think Southern California Edison has played a pretty important role in supporting the QRF, and maybe just comment on that or how there's a collaboration there.
Yeah, the utilities play a big part throughout the state. They have a mutual interest, obviously. Infrastructure, there are many places in Southern California, I'm assuming probably through the West, where many times a mountaintop site may have so much equipment there that we have to protect the utilities equipment to ensure that power is available to perhaps millions of people. This will be the 4th year that we have worked with Edison and partnered with Edison, and the last 2 really were the QRF. We were able to demonstrate that if you were able to support the fire service, provide us resources, we have the ability to come up with some unique and different ways to initial attack these fires, both day and night. And now the ability to deliver retardant both day and night you hear it a lot, but it really is a game changer.
Yeah, and we're very thankful that Perimeter Solutions is able to provide the phos-chek products, the 259FX products that goes in those fixed tank helicopters, and the mobile retardant base that can mix thousands of gallons an hour of that retardant to help meet that initial attack, and then, as you say, into the night. Can you talk about maybe the importance of a mobile retardant base as a component of that air task force, like what that provides that is helping in this bigger picture?
Well, it's critical. Having served on incident management teams for a long time earlier in my career as an air operations branch director, I would always try to make a point of ordering these mobile retardant bases really early and found that there are limits on them, especially if there's other competing priorities. But once you have one of these MRBs assigned and you can set them up close to the edge of those fires, we're able to turn around fire retard in ways that the fixed wing air tankers are unable. And now we have the ability to, on initial attack, because we have an MRB on standby 24 hours a day here in Southern California, they're moving at the same time the aircraft are, which means they get set up quicker, which means we're able to deliver that retardant that much faster. That's a pretty unique, we're the only program doing that right now.
Yeah, I think also you have been a pioneer in either reinitiating or at least in many years, the ability to have nighttime aerial attack. And we hope that catches on, and maybe even what you've shown starts to change some ways that we do firefighting in the future. Why would nighttime aerial attack be such a big game changer to part of the fire industry?
We're generally pretty successful, I would say, between the federal agencies, the state and local agencies at aerial fire suppression. We have the technology, we have the people that have the skills, we have the interest. We ought to be able to deliver like or near like service at night. We're missing an opportunity in a 24-hour period where fires generally are laying down or that seem more susceptible to what we're doing, and we're not taking advantage of that. To your point, 20 years ago after the 2003 fires, there was a lot of, in Southern California, there was a big push for night aerial fire suppression. And other than local government expanding their operations into the night, not much has happened until recently. And I think last year did open up a lot of eyes here in California and throughout the West. And we are going to see more private operators of these larger aircraft get into the nighttime space. I know they'd like to because I've talked with them. And so that is very much, I think, in the near future.
And I just thank you for you being truly, I think, opening some eyes in the industry to what is possible with this great program you put together. Maybe you could speak to one of the successes from the overall quick reaction force from 2020 or 2021. The interesting part about this is when you're really successful, people actually don't get to hear about it because they don't see it on the news. So maybe you could brag a little bit about some of the great successes that people have never heard about.
Well, there have been several. I mean, last year was the first time that we put the 3 large helitankers in an aerial supervision platform together and would move them much like a ground task force. We're referencing them now as an aerial task force. It's the closest thing to what we do on the ground with different resources. And certainly the assistance we're able to provide, the Caldor fire last year on 2 separate occasions was pivotal. It was the first time nighttime aerial retardant and water had been applied on a fire in Northern California. That was history making, but I think I get the feedback as well, and I'll never forget the call I got from Mike Nobles, who is the fire chief here in the Cleveland National Forest. He is also the incident commander on one of the California Type 1 incident management teams, and he was responsible, he and his team, for managing the French fire in Kern County. And he calls me and says, listen, you guys showed up on the return back from Caldor, the fire in Kern County, fully expected, lots of structure loss. I went to bed that night. He says, he's in a tent, so he's not really going to bed. He said, I didn't sleep well because all the noise the helicopters are making all night long. And when daylight broke, I stepped out of the little tent where I was trying to get some sleep and fully expected smoking foundations. And I was pleasantly surprised to see that there was little to no structure loss. And then in talking with his incident management team staff, they really attributed much of that to the full-on night assault by all of those aircraft. And to me, that is one of the larger success stories over the last couple of years that we've been operating.
Well, yeah, thank you for sharing that. Given some of these successes, do you see this concept, night retardant, mobile retardant bases, different way of initial attack catching on in other parts of the Western U.S.?
Oh, I do. We've presented on this program in a variety of venues, and I've gotten many emails, lots of phone calls. There is an interest in replicating what's going on here, whether or not it's in a task force configuration or just more contracts for Type 1 large helitankers or very large helitankers to drop retardant at night. So I would fully expect, and I think our vision has always been that you will see MRBs strategically located throughout the state of California. Cal Fire is into the night space. I would expect that they're going to be dropping water and perhaps even retardant at night this year. And as their fleet continues to grow, their S70 fleet where they're dropping 1,000 gallons, there's going to be a need for more MRBs to be able to apply it. We've done some math, and I think we can demonstrate that the ability to perhaps apply retardant at night will exceed that during the day. And to be able to do that, slow, really, saturated responses, using the technology, the infrared technology to make sure there aren't gaps in the retardant line. I mean, we're talking about quality retardant line where fire may not burn through if applied correctly. So yeah, I think you're going to see this really expand over the next few years, Wes.
Yeah, and as all of us are working together as a fire community, are there any things we need to work on together, removing any roadblocks or barriers, or maybe we're in good shape to continue to expand?
I think so. I mean, some of the conversation over the last several months is what do we do about that period of time between when the MRB team and all the supplies arrive, get set up? Is there an ability to deliver and apply retardant in that with these helicopters in that short period of time? And we think there is. But again, it's more about strategically locating perhaps some innovation on vehicles where the aircraft can snorkel directly from these large vehicles. We don't know. There's a lot of creative people that have a lot of really neat ideas that I think are going to lead to a lot more innovation.
I appreciate that. And thank you so much, Chief Fennessy, for sharing with us about the amazing program that you and others have worked very hard to build. Maybe changing topics just for a minute. We came off of the Western Fire Chiefs hosting the Wildfire Prevention Summit, and I know you were part of that and engaged in the prevention topic. You've always talked again about working in collaboration with organizations, ones like Coast or like others you mentioned in the Prevention Summit, to stop some of those devastating roadside ignitions, or where we can help to prevent ignitions and protect assets. Maybe just speaking briefly about what you're doing there, or what some of your thoughts are on changing the way that we even prevent ignitions and protect assets.
Sure. I think every region, county, maybe different parts of counties have a different problem in terms of ignition. Our biggest challenge, or I think our biggest source of fire here in Orange County, not that I know this just from the data, are roadside ignitions. So we know that if we focus on treating the vegetation along the highways, the freeways here in Orange County, we're going to reduce the number of roadside ignitions that have the potential to being large, damaging, life-threatening fires. And vegetation removal, thinning, those sorts of things has really been what we've been doing. Having the ability to apply products now that are ecologically safe for the environment and that will last as long as perhaps vegetation being removed, that's a big bonus. I think the rock we're all pushing uphill a little bit is getting people warm to the idea that applying some of these new products really are environmentally safe and that will work and those sorts of things. I believe that in a very short amount of time, it's going to be far more widely accepted. And we're seeing that throughout the state and throughout some of the other counties down here, areas where product is being applied successfully and support for the use of those products is expanding. So I think we're early in it, and we just need to warm folks up to the idea that this is a legitimate and, quite frankly, maybe a much faster way of providing that protection. Wes, as well as I do, removing vegetation on the hundreds of miles of highways in any county, labor intensive, and that vegetation grows back. So it's never done. The job's never done. So we're excited about that here in Orange County. We're looking forward to upcoming meetings where we can have meaningful conversation about how we maybe try some different things to accomplish the goals that we have here in county.
Really appreciate, Chief Fennessy, your comments today, your innovative approach across the board to how we bring new ideas, and we don't always do what we've always done, and really bringing new things in. Is there anything else before we close out today's conversation that you'd like to discuss?
No, probably more than anything else, again, and you, Wes, you've said it a bunch of times, and I agree with you, the collaboration, the partnerships, we're all in this together. And we appreciate the support of Perimeter Solutions, certainly with the QRF and all the things you're doing in counties and regions throughout California. You've been a great partner. We certainly have enjoyed that. And as we continue to hear, we don't see the wildland fire problem getting any better. Certainly not here in 2022, as all the models and the predictive services are demonstrating that we're in for conditions that could be as bad, if not worse, than even last year. So in my view, and it's my personal view, initial attack is key. Throwing vast number of resources, quantities of retardant, whatever it may be, at a fire start is key. These fires are getting large much faster than we're used to, and then so large, so much faster that there aren't enough firefighters, helicopters, airplanes, retardant in the world that are going to stop them. Well, we appreciate the federal and the state efforts and dedicating lots of funding to fuel treatments and home hardening. All those things are very necessary. We would certainly like to see even more investment in the fire suppression side to really make for a more comprehensive and more robust initial attack statewide.
Thank you again for joining us today, Chief Fennessy, and I'll look forward to seeing you again very soon.
To find out how we use our experience, responsibility, and integrity to deliver trusted solutions that help improve firefighting performance, visit our website at perimeter-solutions.com. That's perimeter-solutions.com. And learn more about our solutions that save property, natural resources, critical infrastructure, and lives. Please join us again for another episode of Solutions That Save, a fire safety podcast from Perimeter Solutions.